Hello,
Hello.
I'm Justin DeWeese. That's my beautiful wife, Ashley DeWeese. And this might be the off the cuff podcast, or my beautiful wife literally just said, I'm thinking about maybe keeping the name Life Unfiltered.
Anyways, I'm gonna let you banter for a minute while I shut the door.
Okay, well, apparently she's got to shut a door. I don't know. I don't get it. But why don't you all weigh in? Do you prefer Life Unfiltered? Do you prefer off the cuff? I'm off the cuff is growing on me, and
Is
that's kind of the
it?
direction we were going.
Okay,
So
cool. Okay, cool. I just.
she gives me grief for like 3 episodes about saying which one are we doing, and then we finally say, "Hey, we're going to do off the cuff." And today she's like, "Hey, what
I
about?"
know. I have lived for years of trying to get things perfect before stepping into action. And while I have not completely rid myself of that mentality, I have tried to start stepping into action sooner. And so this is one of those things where I was like, I don't want to just keep sitting on this. So let's like try it out. And maybe it's not like the best way. Maybe I shouldn't have even thrown out the whole off the cuff thing and whatever. And if we potentially do something else or go back to what it was, maybe that's not the right way to do it. But I don't know. I just look at it these days is that at least I took some action to try something out and figuring out maybe it works,
True
maybe it
story.
doesn't.
You
All
know,
I'm getting at.
send it out there, see what happens. But today is a special day. And why is that, you might ask, Justin?
Well, I mean,
Because,
they're listening to this podcast, so it's obviously a special
well, I
day.
mean, duh, that part goes without saying. But today is a special day because as we record this, it is that beautiful dime piece's birthday.
That it is. That it is.
And that got me to thinking. I feel like our beautiful, lovely listeners could benefit from some of the wisdom that you have acquired
Over my
throughout your
46
years.
years, my 46 years.
Well, listen, you don't talk about a lady's age, so I wasn't going to throw it out there. But since you did,
You should be excited that I've been really good, that I've remembered how old I am this year.
I am really pumped. We were watching a show with the kids yesterday on lunch because they had another snow day because why not? And it was a celebrity survival outdoors type show, and Mel B, Scary Spice,
Yeah,
was
we
on
quickly
this
figured
show.
it out that it was all like British celebrities because we're like
Yeah, because
listening to
it
who
was a
they're
celebrity
introducing them and
show
we're
and
like, I don't know this person. Like, who is this person?
Big Zoo. Never heard of
Yeah,
him.
that one threw me for a loop there.
But anyway, we learned that Mel B and Ashley are kind of the same in that A, they're both
We're
kind of
both
scary.
scary.
They're both kind of scary spicy. But B, someone asked in the course of that show Mel B's age, and she was like, "Oh, I don't 47 48 48 49."
She didn't know.
She didn't know, just like my
I
beautiful
mean,
wife often doesn't know.
and like I said, I'll say quickly again, sometimes it's just irrelevant when you're taking care of yourself and you're not focused on, oh wow, I only have so many years left. Like I don't know. It's just
That is
not at the
true.
front of my mind.
You look better now
Then when you married me,
than when we got married and you were 31. So, you got
well,
that going for you.
thanks. Heart.
But that's neither here nor there. What I would like to hear today is we'll start here.
I was gonna say, I hope you're gonna like prompt me a little bit because
Oh,
there's gonna be
yeah, no.
a lot of spaces in this
Right.
podcast
No.
if I have to sit here and off the dome.
Ashley off the cuff would be
Really boring.
right. You kind of got to feed her the cuff,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. So, what is the I don't know if this is the right word, but the biggest thing that you've learned in this most recent year of your life?
Oof. Um, Gosh, can we put a warning on this that it's likely that I'm
Sure.
gonna cry at some point because I'm also waiting to start my period.
I mean, have we had an episode of this where you haven't
We
cried at
have,
some point and or wiped your nose?
we have, but
I'm not sure. But anyway, biggest life lesson from the past year.
um I'm gonna take liberty with this question.
Yeah, it's
That
your show.
I think in this last year, I don't know, I've gained a new sense of clarity of just how important it is to me to be a mom. Like, like be a mom.
Sure.
Just because I don't know, like this last year, um, I just find myself like looking at our kids differently, enjoying them in different ways. I don't know that I've ever shared on this podcast, but like I was not the I was not the little girl that, dreamed of like having this amazing, beautiful wedding and being
Sure.
a mom and having babies. And like that was not ever something that I dreamt of, right?
Okay.
Um, and while I wanted to have children, I just didn't feel that like typical mother qualities and traits came natural for me. And I don't even know where I want to go with that, but yeah, like I think for it's not necessarily a lesson, but something that I've learned about myself is like how
Sure.
much I really do enjoy being a mom and how much I love our children and just like the awesome human beings that they are, even on the days that they're not so awesome. Um, and with that I think finally settling into, for the most part, giving myself permission to be a mom my way,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, yeah.
So
No, I do know. And let me just say, you are an awesome mom. We'll start there. And, I wrote in my birthday letter to you today that watching you grow in your maturity and wisdom has really been fun to watch. And I think that plays into this metamorphosis of growing appreciative of your role as a mom because, as you mature and as you gain wisdom and as our kids get a little bit older and, come into their personalities and all that fun stuff, like it makes it easier, more enjoyable to spend that time with them. Um, but yeah, no, you're a great mom, and it's fun watching you mom those two, even though sometimes watching you mom them makes you want to put a fork in my eye.
well, thanks. And I want to add on to that. I'm sure you have other questions, but I also want to add on to that how thankful I am that we ended up, and I believe we ended up on this path of growth. I mean, obviously we had to make some intentional decisions, but
Sure,
um, because I I'm so much more aware of how I'm parenting and the impact and influence that I have over both Dax and Ayla as a result of having worked to develop that awareness with
sure.
myself. And it's not easy and I'm not perfect, but just I definitely have more awareness. I mean, we just had a conversation this morning, right? That essentially dealt with that of being aware of how our words can impact our kids and in what capacities, um, patterns and behaviors to kind of be aware of, to pay more attention or watch to. And those are just some things that, like, it's not ever like we were people that had our heads completely up our asses. But
Well, you can
but
speak for
I
yourself on that one. I probably did.
But I 100% know that there are things that I take more pause with before and after now than I would have had we not been working to grow ourselves.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So we've talked in previous episodes of this show. Go back and listen to them all. I encourage you. Um, about there's the nose wipe about self awareness, right? And the impact of self awareness isn't just on being aware of how what you're doing is impacting your life, right? It's also very vital to have that level of self awareness of how your behavior, words, and whatnot
Mhm.
impact those closest to you. So, very powerful point, my love. Very powerful.
Thanks. Thanks for asking the question.
So, I'm not going to lie, these are all sort of expansions of that question.
Okay.
So, that's something that you've come to appreciate in the last year. Over the course of our marriage, going on 15 years, what's the biggest thing that you've learned that you would want to share with people?
Let's just title this like the Make Ashley Cry episode.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's what we're here for.
Um, how significant a decision it is to choose the right life partner. Like just how how impactful it is to make sure that the person you're choosing to lock arms with for life is the right person for you. And by right person, I mean shares a common vision, a common direction, common values and standards. Because I've experienced it both ways. Um, and it's something that, unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand it in that way
Sure.
and then end up later in life recognizing how different they are from their partner. And I don't just mean like I don't know how to best articulate it. I think that obviously like we've talked before, for all individuals, growth should be the goal of your life. To
Right.
be on in constant pursuit of the next version of you, right?
Uh huh.
And that doesn't equate to, hey, when you make a decision to marry someone, like you need to know right then and there that who they are right then and there, like that's the person that you want to be with forever, and and they're not ever going to change, because that obviously is not, they should be changing, right? But I guess if you had to boil it down, like ensuring that you're choosing someone as a partner for life who has growth as a vision. And maybe you and I, like, it just lucked out. Maybe we always had a vision for growth inside of us,
Right.
and we just, it wasn't out, on the surface yet.
Right.
Because I can't be like, yeah, when I said yes, I'll marry you, I knew that like I didn't know it
Sure.
in that way. So I don't necessarily know how to completely set this up. But my point is, I see far too many women, men as well, um, who are in relationships, marriages, partnerships in their life where they're not on the same page. They're not
Right.
in the same page, and yet they don't want to take an uncomfortable step to change that. And I just wonder at times, not downplaying the significance of how much the boat will rock and life will be, you know, changed up. Because obviously we both have been there, of being in marriages and then getting out of those marriages and how that affects your life. But again, like the more and more I go down this path, I I can't imagine I can't imagine staying in a partnership at this stage of my life with someone who was not open to their own growth as well as being supportive of mine. And
Sure.
I experience many cases where that's not happening, and it's such a struggle for one spouse or the other. Again, both sides of the coin, men and women. I know people who fit the bill on both sides. The male is growing, the female is not, or vice versa. And I feel for them. And sometimes they can't even recognize it, right? Because they're like, oh, things are, I don't know why things are weird or whatever. And I just want to be like, I'll tell you why, because you're growing and she's not, or you're growing and he's not.
Right.
But that's a really tough one. So that's a long story to answer your question. That, yeah, I think in our whole thing of marriage is just the importance of choosing someone who's willing to not just grow old with you, but to actually grow with you as you get old.
So, follow up question, because you said the impact of choosing the right partner to do life with. Follow up question, is that me? Or like, am I a lesson learned here?
I mean, the jury's kind of still out, but yeah, for the time being, that's
Dang. 15 years and the jury's still deliberating, folks.
no, it is you. And I'll give you a little bonus nug with my
Uh oh.
initial answer. I think uh, a lesson that I've learned in our time together that I had been fairly convinced otherwise of before you, and that is that um, there is someone who will love all parts of you, like all parts of you. And I think that's important for people to hear because for
Sure.
the longest time, depending on what people's experiences are, but I know there came a point for me where I felt like, well, maybe I am to this, or maybe there is this part that is the problem. And that's why I'm experiencing these struggles with the relationships or the marriage that I was in, et cetera, et cetera. And so, what I have found in you, even through all of our imperfections, is that you truly do love like all of me, even the parts of me that you don't really like love. Like you love all of me and who I am, and you don't try to change those things about me. You help me to grow in areas where should I choose, I'm able to change myself. But yeah, like just I've just learned that the right person will love all of you, even the prickly parts, the like less than beautiful parts. Um, yeah.
I will say, I'm a big fan when you shave some of those prickly
Oh
parts.
my gosh, stop.
Hey, yo.
On that note, next
On that
question.
note, um, so we touched on, you know, you learned that you're really loving and growing being the mom. We
Mhm.
talked about what you've learned as far as its impact on relationship. So, what would you say in your adult years is the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself?
Um, that's a tough one. Um, Probably
Yeah, I know it's a tough one, but you're 46. You don't deserve meatball questions anymore.
can you restate the question one more time, please?
What's the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself as an adult?
There's probably several things. But one just how resilient I am.
That's a good one.
how much inner strength I have. Because, I mean, if you ask me I don't know, if you were to ask me at different points in my life, you know, hey, could you do this, or could you handle this, or what would happen if this? And there would be things that'd be like, I wouldn't know the first thing to do, or no, I don't think I could. And I think what I've learned about myself over time, which I believe is true for anyone, I really do, that we all have it within ourselves to get through the toughest of things. Like, it's
True
there.
story.
I don't know that everyone ends up tapping into it. Um, but there's so many things along the way that to any, you know, I would have been justified it multiple times in my life to just kind of throw in the towel, you know? And
Uh-huh.
so I don't know. I think I've learned how resilient I am, which is always like interesting because while I know that about myself, there's times where I like catastrophize things in life and go and I
Sure.
still have stories of like I would never be able to make it through that, or I would never, and yet I would, because I've proven
Right.
it to myself over and over again.
Well, it's like that old cliche, right? Like you've survived every single tough thing that life has thrown at you so far. So
Right.
why do you think you can't survive this thing
Right.
in front of you? You know?
I would also say, like, I've also learned that it's totally okay to create your own life in a way that makes sense for you, and that there actually isn't a right blueprint or way. You know,
Yep.
I grew up believing that there was a certain blueprint, and I've mentioned this on episodes before, right? Like you go to school, you take certain classes,
Right.
you perform a certain way in school, meet a certain expectations, you graduate, you go to college, you get married, you get a job. And again, like that's how I was raised, and some of that was direct lessons, some were indirect lessons, right? Our parents
Yep.
teach us things at times that they don't really know that they're teaching us. Um, and some of it is also like just our interpretation, right, of our parents' parenting. But for the longest time in my life, I was so afraid to veer from what I believed was the path, you know? And I think one of the best decisions I've chosen was when I quit teaching, because it forced me in a place where I had to start doing them things differently. And I couldn't rely on my comfort zone of, hey, like I just have some innate gifts to be able to perform as an
Right.
educator and do well here. I really was in then a place where like I had to make some new choices, right? And from that time forward, just the world that has opened up for me in recognizing, oh, hey, like I could choose to do this. I could choose to try that. I don't have to do what everyone else is doing. Like I can make money this way or that way, or, like, I actually can love what I do for a living. I don't have to just have a job that I hate and grind out every day and life sucks. And I look forward to the weekends and vacation and whatever. And I'm so grateful for that because, like I said, for the longest time, it was very much I lived a life of try to stay in the lines because
Sure.
it's like the dad in the Crudes, right? Or the dad in Moana, like if you go
Right.
beyond the waves out there, like that's bad, right? And I just have realized that like it's actually not, and it's actually where you end up truly finding, I think, your mission and your heart in life.
Awesome. So we've covered with a very broad but brush
A
the
broad
past.
butt. Are you calling my butt broad?
Ma'am, stay focused.
Hmm.
So now that you are firmly in the second half of your 40s,
Hmm.
and as you careen towards 50, What are you most looking forward to?
I'm just super stoked. I'm super stoked that I'm super stoked that I am looking, feeling, and living right now better than any other point in my life. And the old me dreaded getting to this stage in our life. Um,
Sure.
like I did not like the old me, like this was game over, like on the downhill.
Right. Oh shit, you're 50.
Right. And like I'm more of a like I definitely don't want to be getting closer to the end of my days here on
Of
earth.
course.
But as far as being scared of hitting a certain age, I just don't really have I just don't really have that fear anymore. And I think that that's simply, again, because the work that I've done and continue to do to take care of my body, take care of my mind, build up my own confidence, all the things that I'm learning. We're living in an era of time as well that there's just so much opportunity and possibility in front of us.
Yep.
We're no longer bound by what we can learn, how much we can learn, who we can learn from. And so the idea of like, hey, anything you want to do, create, or be in life, while that used to seem kind of like far-fetched, um, I don't think we can really say that anymore. And so
Right. It's
I'm
right there.
excited for that. I'm excited to see how we grow as a couple. And I think that this is as much as I do at times wish we could go back to the days where the kids were little, right? Because you miss them being little. Like I'm just really excited for this next half of seeing them continue to grow and like become who God created them to be. And I'm just really excited to see what that looks like for them.
Yeah.
Um,
Very cool. And yes, this episode does need to be subtitled. Just enjoy Ashley crying.
yeah, like just enjoy Ashley crying. I think here's another bonus. I think I've also gotten to a place where I'm a little bit more, a lot of bit more okay with this side of myself, you know? I
Sure.
think for the longest time in my life, I've chosen to um live a very like hard shell outside. Um and while that's still very much part of who I am, I also am learning to embrace the need to express more of my feminine side and the raw, vulnerable side of me as well. It makes me feel better, even when it doesn't feel good, I guess.
Sure. No, that makes perfect sense. Well, as we wrap up, I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that I get to do this life with you. I'm grateful that I get to spend some time today celebrating you, who you are, who you've been, who you're growing into. Um, it's been a hell of a ride thus far. It's going to be even more awesome going forward. Um, Hopefully, we can continue the maintenance on those prickly parts.
Oh my word, stop.
But
Remember the time there was some mintiness down there because you had used my razor?
yeah, I don't know.
I
It
could go without that happening again.
kind of feels like false allegations, but
Right.
we'll let it slide this time because it's your
Mm-hmm.
birthday. So we'll let you just kind of say whatever you want. Just throw some
Right.
shit out there and see what happens.
Right. Maybe we should do a storytelling episode where we just tell random stories that are stuck in each of our brains about life together.
We listen and we
And we
don't
don't
judge.
judge, definitely on the list for. episode.
Well, I'm glad that we had this time, that we could share, that we could crack open the book of Ashley and share some of your life lessons with the people. As we close and wrap up, is there any last parting nugget of wisdom that you want to send folks away with?
You have no idea what is possible for you on the other side of who you are right now. But what you can know is that what is on the other side of who you are right now is infinitely better than life as you know it today. And so I just encourage people to, if they're not already, begin to be in constant pursuit of what's on the other side of today's version of you.
Boom. Mic dropped. I love you. I
Love
love all you
you.
beautiful listeners. We're so glad that you spent this time with us today. If you got value out of it, man, share the book of Ashley with some of your friends. They
For
need this
sure.
in they need her in their life. Like, comment, share, get it out there, man.
Everybody needs an Ashley in their life.
Absolutely.
Depends on who you ask.
Well, listen. No, everybody.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Be here next week.